Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Tristan. I'm really happy to be here with you today, really excited, really lucky as well. I had the chance to visit a little bit Dubai over the last couple of days. Beautiful city, beautiful weather. We're really lucky to be here. You know, it's not the same weather in Paris right now. I'm French, and I can tell you it's like probably 5 or 10 Celsius degrees right now in France. So yeah, really happy to be here. I'm going to make an introduction to Power BI. You already saw many things this morning. So I'm really going to focus on some stuff you haven't seen. We're going to do a lot of demos. And I really want you to see practical stuff on Power BI Desktop and Power BI Service. Before we dive into the session, we'll just quickly introduce myself. So I'm a consultant at Azeo, a Microsoft partner in France. I'm mostly in charge of Power BI activities, such as trainings, consulting services, pre-sales activities as well. I am a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I share a lot of things on DAX, data visualization, Power Query, data modeling, well, anything related to Power BI, right? So you can follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and also on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel where I broadcast a few videos. This session is actually recorded live, so you can watch it again if you want to. Last, I am the co-founder of the Club Power BI, which is basically the Paris Power BI user group in France. We started in January or February 2017, so almost 2 years ago. And we just reached 1,000 members. So we are really happy to see the French community growing. There is really a growing interest in the product in Europe and I guess everywhere in the world. I'm really happy to see that there are so many people here attending the session today. Again, we have a YouTube channel. Unfortunately, the content is in French. So if you understand French, or at least if you want to hear some French words, you can just go to the channel and see our content. Bonjour, yeah. Bonjour. Okay. So, as I said, we're going to do some demos. You may have heard of Power BI Desktop, Power BI Service, Power Query, DAX, data modeling, Power BI apps, gateways. There are many things. Like I call these things the Power BI ecosystem. And I want to make sure that at the end of the session, you have a great overview of the Power BI ecosystem, and you know all the different components of Power BI. So let's start by the end. I'm going to quickly show you a Power BI report, which I built using Power BI Desktop. So here I'm in Power BI Desktop. As you can see, this is sales data. This is completely fake data, right? It's just for a demo showcase. So you know that stuff, right? Beautiful reports using colors, interactive charts, drill down at different levels, changing the dates and everything updates accordingly, asking questions. You saw all that stuff, right? This is amazing. This is really powerful because it allows you to really have a business understanding. You can measure your business KPIs and stuff. But when I show that kind of stuff, I think the most important thing to remember is the fact that this is what I call the visible part of the iceberg, right? What you see is it's the output. But what you have to have in mind is that there are many things before I could end up with this result, right? So this is what I call the data iceberg. And here I listed all the steps that I've done to make this report. And you could easily apply these patterns: import, clean, model, analyze, visualize, and share for all your Power BI projects, or I would say all your BI projects, right? Not necessarily Power BI. So the real thing about Power BI is to give you autonomy, confidence, and power on each step of the iceberg. And this is really important. What you see here is that Power BI is not just about visualization. Why? So when there are people coming to meetups or some clients, when they discover Power BI, obviously they're going to be interested in the shiny visualizations, colors, and stuff that I've just shown you. But the key thing and the key asset on Power BI is the fact that it's an end-to-end solution, which allows you to import data from many different data sources. You're going to see it in a sec. You can clean the data. I'm sure most of you experience it every day. We all have bad data. The data is never ready to be analyzed. We need to reshape it, to clean it in order to visualize it. Model. So here it's when there are many tables at stake in the model. They may come from different data sources, and we need to know how we're going to create some relationships and build some reports with multiple tables in a single data model. It is especially confusing and a bit hard when you have a business background and come from the Excel world, such as me. I have a bit the same story as Nabil. I have an Excel background, so the modeling part was not that easy at first when I discovered Power BI, because the real logic of Power BI is to have many different tables that you're going to link. Unlike in Excel, if you don't know Power BI in Excel, if you just stay as a basic Excel user, there is one big constraint when you want to build pivot tables, is that you need to bring in all the content from all your data in a single flat table, and you're going to build your pivot table on top of this single table, right? The logic of Power BI is different. You're going to build a data model with relationships between tables. And this is really important as well. Analyze. So here you're going to create your KPIs to answer your business questions, such as ratios, year-to-date, sales versus budget, okay, all that stuff. So you have a language which is called DAX. How many of you know the DAX language? Yes, some of you. So DAX stands for Data Analysis Expression. It's basically a language which allows you to compute measures, calculated columns, and tables, so you can answer your business questions, right? We're going to see some demos again as well. Visualize, so you pick the relevant charts and colors and share. Once and only once you have done all these steps, you're ready to publish some stuff to other people, which could be in your organization or outside of your organization. Okay. A few things here. From what I see in France at my clients and at the different meetups, when I talk to people, I would say that data analysts and business analysts, on average, they spend 80% of their time at the lower part of the iceberg, right? They spend so much time, you may be spending so much time importing the data, cleaning it, and trying to reshape it. Why? Because, as I said, the data is not clean, right? The whole idea about Power BI is to reduce this effort over here. We're not going to remove it because we need it, but we're going to make sure it's a good user experience, it's automated, so you can spend more time focusing on what's really going to drive the value of your business. That is to say, analyze and visualize your data, okay? So once we have this in mind, we have more or less the agenda of this session. I'm going to show you some demos on each step, so you can see Power BI in action and how it could help you with your business. Before we do some demos, just this slide, I love it. I put it for all my Power BI presentations. It's not from me, it's from another MVP who is called Gilbert Quevauvilliers. He's based in Australia. So he's building a Power BI infographic, which are really interesting. So this one gives you a great overview of what I call the Power BI ecosystem. So as I said, so you're going to read it from the left to the right. So here you have data connectors, okay? You're going to do all the steps of the iceberg, more or less, in Power BI Desktop, which you can download for free on your computer. There is only one constraint. It doesn't work on Mac unless you have a virtualized and Windows environment, okay? But you can download Power BI Desktop for free. So you're gonna connect to these different data sources. You're gonna clean your data, reshape it, do the visualizations, well, all the steps of the iceberg, right? And once you're ready, you can upload your content to the Power BI service. So Power BI service is, I would say, the cloud version of Power BI. It's part of the Office 365 or Microsoft 365 ecosystem. And it's going to allow you to really scale your models and make them available to other users. So you're going to set up data refreshes, you're going to set up some alerts, you're going to share your reports to different group of people on multiple devices, such as mobile, tablets. As you saw earlier, there was one of the presentations where the guy showed you Power BI on a mobile. There are really, really interesting scenarios in terms of collaboration. So you can have row-level security. You can apply some security on your data, saying this particular group of users will only have access to UK data, and this particular group of users will only have to see US data, for example. Okay. Group workspaces, Outlook email subscriptions, embedding in SharePoint and Teams as well. How many of you use SharePoint Online or Teams? Yeah, quite a few of you. I don't know if you know, but because Power BI is part of the Microsoft stack, you can really interact with other Microsoft 365 products, right? And this is one of the key assets of the product, is the fact that you can interact with SharePoint and Teams, for example, for further collaboration scenarios. The gateway here is the small thing that is going to allow you to bridge the gap between your on-premise sources, if you have any, and the cloud of Microsoft, where you're going to publish your reports. Okay, so I'm not gonna go too much on these details. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer at the end of the session. There is also another Power BI, which I'm not gonna cover today, which is called Power BI Report Server. It's the same mindset, same spirits. There are less features, but it's gonna allow you to deploy your Power BI reports on-premise. So not in the cloud, you stay in your servers, in your environment. So this is not covered in the slide here, but again, I'm more than happy to take your questions at the end of the session. The desktop has more or less the same features. So all the things I'm going to show you today in the desktop, you will be able to do them in the Power BI report server as well, more or less. Okay, so this is the Power BI ecosystem. Now let's do some demos. So I'm going to go to Power BI Desktop. Are there some people here who have never seen Power BI Desktop? Do I need to make really a quick introduction? How many of you have never seen Power BI Desktop? Okay, quite a few of you. So this is Power BI Desktop. If I go back to the infographic, this is this part of the ecosystem. Okay, so it's a free software. You can download it on your computer. So here I'm in Power BI Desktop. It's a bit like in Excel. You have sheets. Okay, so you can create as many sheets as you want. You can delete them. So the workflow is going to be this one. You have the canvas over here. So you're going to place some visuals, which you can choose over here. And these visuals will be alimented by data. So you have data, which is going to be part of your axis and values of your charts. And then you're going to be able to build the reports. Okay? The first step of the iceberg, remember, is import. So you need to grab data. So here you have a button, which allows you to get data. And you find all the pre-built, packaged connectors that are built by Microsoft and also third-party vendors, because now that you see that there are custom connectors which are certified. So here you have access to, I would say, probably more than 80 different data connectors. There are the main ones: SQL Server, Oracle, Excel, CSV files, folder, SharePoint, Access, Web. Okay, so many of them. You can even extract data from a PDF. I don't know if you have already tried this feature. It's in preview, so you need to turn it on. It's pretty interesting, pretty impressive as well. You have a complete consistency on the user experience for these connectors. So all the things I'm going to show you right now, I'm going to use the Excel connector. You can use the same patterns and the same techniques for any sources which are available here, right? So let's do a demo. Here I have this Excel file. This is fake sales data in many different cities. as you can see, the data is not really clean, right? I have data at several levels. There are blank rows over here, blank cells, sorry. I have special characters. My cells are in columns. It's not going to be really convenient for data analysis. So here, I'm not going to do anything in Excel, right? I'm just going to use Excel as a data source. I'm going to grab the content of this Excel file into Power BI Desktop, and I'm going to reshape it so you can see the lower part of the iceberg, which is import and cleansing. So back in Power BI Desktop, I'm going to use, let me close this. I'm going to use the Excel connector over here, and I'm going to pick my cleansing file. So these are the different sheets that I have in my Excel file. I'm going to pick this one, which was called tough, because it's going to be tough to clean this data. And not that tough, you're going to say. So here I have two options available to me. I can either load the data straight into my data model and start analyzing and visualizing it. But as we saw, we're not going to do this right now, right? The data is not ready. So I'm going to click on Edit, and I'm going to reach the Power Query editor. So here I'm still within Power BI Desktop. It's just a second window. And I'm going to clean my data. So you have already seen some demos of Power Query. The things I'm going to show you now, you haven't seen them before today, I mean. So it's going to be really complementary from what you've seen already. So let's clean the data. I'm going to, for example, here, the years, I'm going to use the first row as a header. So as you can see, as I click on the buttons over here, I have a user-friendly interface, which allows me to clean and reshape the data. Anytime I click on something, it does an action on the table, which is recorded through a step. At any time, you can rename the step, you can delete it. When you click on a step, you see how the table looks like at this particular stage. So this is really convenient when you want to track how you clean the data, how at the time you did it, how you thought about the problem, okay? Really, really convenient. So here, I'm gonna use these user-friendly buttons over here to clean my data. So for example, here, I have Europe, Asia, Americas and stuff. So I need to fill down that stuff. I have a button for that, fill down. I'm gonna get rid of useless rows as well. So I'm gonna just filter them. I'm gonna get rid of special characters as well. I'm gonna split the columns. So I have a proper column for cities and proper column for countries as well. Renaming, really important because you're gonna have these fields to build the visuals later on. City and country. And then last, transform, really powerful, especially if you have an Excel background. So here, as you can see, I have one dedicated column for the continent, the cities, and the countries. However, my years are in different columns, right? So I'm sure you have already had this kind of format before. So I'm just gonna right-click over here and unpivot all the other columns which are currently in my data. So here I have pre-selected these three columns, and I'm gonna unpivot the other columns so I can have a dedicated columns for the years, right? Unpivot, and as you can see, before I do this step, I had 18 rows. Now I have as many rows as the number of years, cities, countries, and continents, right? Which is 252 rows. I'm gonna rename this to the year and to this was sales. And last, just taking care of the data types, because these are whole numbers. Okay, so in literally 5 minutes or even less, we started from this, And without coding, we managed to clean and reshape the data through recorded steps, which means that you won't have to do it all over again. Okay, if you have another Excel file coming, let's say in a folder or in the same structure, you're just gonna reapply the same logic over here. You can update and use the refresh button over here to apply the subsequent steps. So once we are ready, clean import, we're gonna load the data into the data model of Power BI. So here it is loading the clean version of the data. I haven't written back to the source, right? The source is still the same. I've just copied into memory this data set. I cleaned it. So here I'm on the report view where you're gonna spend most of your time in Power BI, but you also have the data view where you can see physically the data, okay? This is really convenient for an Excel user as well. Where is my data, right? It's here. You can see it in the tab. There is also the modeling view, which we'll cover later on, because in this particular demo, I only have one table, so I don't have to model anything yet. So back to the report. Very easy, as I said. You're gonna pick up a visual, which you can place wherever you want. And then it's going to be clicky, clicky, draggy, droppy, as Christian Wade says often when he does some demo. Well, actually, it's on much bigger data sets, but you get the mindset and the spirit, right? You're just going to click, drag and drop your fields, and it's going to build the reports for you. So here I'm going to see my sales by year, for example. I can even use natural language to build some charts. So here I'm just going to say sales by country, and let's say we want okay, so this is going to be my first chart, and here sales by city as a map. Okay, interactive charts, many ways you could visualize this data. Here is just an example. So you get the point, right? We started from a dirty Excel sheet, and in literally 5 minutes, we could extract the data and get some insights. Yes?
During the cleaning phase, we had to do some manual inspection of the file to identify the unneeded characters, spaces, and these things.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, do we have an intelligent way of doing that?
Yes. So the question is, I'm going to repeat for the record and also for the audience. So the question is how we can actually anticipate maybe the content of the file and detect some errors or some weird elements without having to check manually the files. So that is a great question. I would say that Power BI is smart, but not that smart. There is actually an error check, which is automatically performed by Power BI. So if you load data which is in error, for example, you have some elements starting with an hashtag, or you have weird things, you've tried to convert something to a number, but you had text within the column, you may not see it straight, but when you're gonna load the data, you're gonna have a query error returning all the errors of your query, and you will be able to see what's going wrong. And you will be able even to correct the errors and really load the real clean version of the data. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
That detection will be taking me to that cell or that row?
So it will be at the cell level, and it will evidence all the rows which have at least one cell with an error. Well, the concept of cell is not really here in Power Query, but you get it. Yeah, I'm going to take another question, and then we'll go.
Once this report is published for the users,
yes,
there are new records in Excel.
Yeah.
Do we have to, somebody has to refresh the data module?
Okay, so the question is, once I have new fresh data, what do I need to do? Is it automatic? What do I need to refresh? So this is going to be the next part of my demo. Okay, but basically the answer is no. If you have done everything correctly over here, you can set up automatic data refresh in Power BI service, so you don't have to do it all over again. It's going to be a continuous cycle. Okay. So that was the first demo using Power Query to reshape the data. Now let's go back to the first Power BI file I've shown you here during the introduction. This report is actually based on a bit more complex data model because it has several tables, right? In this particular example, I only had one table. So it was not that complicated, right? I could reshape it and do the analysis. In real life, you have many tables, and these tables might come from different data sources, right? And the whole thing about Power BI is to combine these sources and to build a single data model, which is going to get data from all these different tables, which might come from different sources, as I said. So you could, for example, connect to Salesforce and then to a CSV or an Excel file in your folder. You might want to connect to an Oracle database or a SQL Server database and merging it or analyzing it with an Excel file or a CSV file, which is not part of the data warehouse. I'm sure you have many examples in mind in your particular scenarios. So here, I'm not going to show you all the things I've done to produce this particular report, but what you need to have in mind is the fact that I built a data model. So here on the relationship view, which has been renamed modeling view in the November release of Power BI Desktop, here you see a data model. My sales table is what we call in business intelligence my fact table. So this has data information which I'm going to aggregate, such as sales, a number of orders and stuff. And the geographic table, the products table, and the calendar table, or what we call lookup tables, reference tables, mapping tables, dimension tables, call them whatever you want. These are just tables which are going to help you answer your business questions, such as how, when, where, what, how, okay? So these sales tables come from my data warehouse in SQL Server, and these particular tables come from Excel files, which I've stored in a SharePoint folder, okay? So here I've combined these different data sources in a single data model. And as you can see here, I have some relationships between my table. So this is the third step of the iceberg. Once you have connected to the data and reshaped it, you need to build a proper data model. So this is data modeling, right? So here I have a relationship between the code of the product and the product ID. As a reminder, you can see the actual data over here in the different tables. So here I had some codes between my lookup tables and my fact tables, my sales table, and I just created these relationships to build my data model, okay? So we're not gonna cover all the things around data modeling because we could spend a day on best practices regarding data modeling. I actually did a training in Copenhagen a few weeks ago where we spent the full day just talking about data modeling, right? So the key thing here that you need to remember is the fact that when you have many different tables coming from many different sources, the relationships are going to help you leverage the whole Power BI engine and are going to be really helpful for you when you want to do the visualizations. Because here, once I took care of this particular data model, which sometimes we refer to a star schema, because there is the star over here, the fact which is surrounded by the lookup tables, everything is so much easier, right? As you can see over here, I had the technical keys of my tables, and I'm just gonna use these particular tables to build my reports. So as you can see over here, when I go to my sales data, I only have the measures. We'll see just in a sec how we can create such measures. I only expose to the business users the measure that are gonna allow them to slice and dice the data. And as you can see here, I have my calendar table, my geographic table, and my products table. Because I took care of data modeling, from now, all the things I want to do in terms of visualization, data analysis is really, really easy, right? We've done the hardest job. The lower part of the iceberg is clearly the most challenging, but once you have done it, it's really easy, right? Clicky, clicky, drag it, drop it, as Christian Wade said. So here, just an example, because the data model is good, I can just put the city over here and have my total revenue. And here I could say, okay, I want to have the same chart. Let's put it like this, by product category, and why not product name? Okay. So as you can see, I am building a Power BI report with a data model having different tables, right? So this might be confusing for an Excel user, because in Excel, again, when you build a pivot table, it's on a single flat table. Here, you're going to have the same user experience, but it's going to be based on several different tables, right? And the data model, again, I repeat, is key. If you don't have a proper data model, if you don't follow the best practices, you will have troubles. You're going to have to spend a lot of time doing some work manually. It's going to be really hard for you to build the visuals and to have really a good understanding of your business. So now you might wonder, what are these small icons over here? These don't look like native fields. So these are called DAX measures. Who has never created a DAX measure? Okay, so half of you, more or less. So I'm just gonna click over here so you can see the expression of my DAX measure. So here what I've done, I have created a KPI, which is pretty simple, which is just the sum of the amount of my sales table. So this is one of the table of my data model. And this is just a column of this particular table. What you see over here is the name of the measure. Okay? So measures are going to be your best friend if you want to be able to answer your business questions. Because when you think about it, if I go back to my data over here, what I have in my data, so as you can see, I have hidden all the different fields of this table, and I only expose to the user the measures I have created myself. So this is one of the best practice. But if you look at the data over here, okay, we have amount, sales amount, by cities, by dates, by products. That's good. We can do some analysis on this data. But what if I want to do some ratios? What if I want to see this same data in year to date, in month to date, in quarter to date, versus last year, versus budget? Okay, these type of things that you ask yourself every day. How can I do that? Well, the answer is simple, and you know it, using DAX. You're going to create some measures, some KPIs, which answer your business questions. So here I've just built a simple DAX measure, which I can use in any of my reports. And as you can see over here, this measure does a calculation on the sales table. So any table which has a relationship with the sales table is going to be able to slice and dice the data. What does it mean? Once you have created a KPI, such as a ratio or a simple measure, you can slice it and dice it in any sense. So, for example, over here, I'm going to show you. So here you can see different measures I have created. Okay, we're going to create one together. So to create a measure, you can just right-click and say New Measure. You can also use a gallery, which is called the Quick Measures Gallery, where you don't even need to know the DAX language. You have pre-built indicators, which you can use just as a way to learn the DAX language. I'm going to show you the interface in a sec. But here, I'm just going to create my own measure. So it's going to be my sales year to date. And I'm just going to say calculate the total revenue. So as you can see over here, I am referring to an existing measure of my model. And I'm just going to say, I want to see this very same indicator, as a year to date. So I have a function for that, date year to date, which is gonna call the dates column of my calendar table. So again, this is a best practice. When you want to do time intelligence calculations, you need to have a proper date table, which is dedicated to time. And you're gonna do all your calculations on this particular table, which I'm doing here, right? So here I'm just gonna press enter, and it's gonna create this KPI, sales year to date, which I'm gonna format in euro. Okay, so now let me check this KPI. I'm gonna use the month and year column of my calendar table just to check if the year to date works correctly. Let me just put this a bit bigger. Okay, so here I have my total revenue, and here I have the same version of my total revenue, but in year to date, right? We just created the KPI together. And as you can see, it works. Here, sorry. So here in January, we have the same amount, and then the year to date keeps going until it reaches January 2017, where it starts, because it's a year to date, okay? So it works. And as I said, I created this KPI only once, but because I have a data model, I can slice and dice the data of this particular KPI in any sense. So for example, if I want to see the year to date for a particular group of products, I just need to filter the data. And the KPI I've created myself adjusts automatically, right? You don't need to anticipate all the filters and all the contexts in which your measures are gonna apply. You just need to create the measure, and if you have a proper data model, you're gonna slice and dice the data anywhere. Got it? So again, you may wonder, okay, but how do I know the DAX functions? How do I know that there is a calculate, a DAX year to date? Well, you need trainings, you need awareness. There are tons of resources online. The goal of this session is not to teach you everything about modeling and DAX, just to give you an overview. I really encourage you to have a deep dive into these concepts, because they're definitely going to help you analyze the data and save some time as well in the analysis. Okay. So, do you know at what time we started? We started at 11:10. 11:10. Okay. So we still have 20 minutes left. So I promised I would show you all the different components of the iceberg, right? So we've done the import, we've done the cleansing. You've seen a bit of Power Query. You've seen a bit of modeling as well, creating a data model with relationships. You've seen the analysis, creating some KPIs using the DAX language. So now I'm going to showcase a bit of visualization. As you saw, Power BI is amazing for visualizing the data. So here I'm just going to showcase the latest features which have been released over the last 12 months, which are really, really powerful and interesting, because these features are going to make Power BI adopted in your company, because they're going to be eye-catching. You're going to have business users who are going to want to consume the data. This is really important, right? So let me show you that. Yeah. So here, I'm on the first page of the report, right? Which is called Global. I have a very high-level overview of my statistics. I can slice and dice the data. But what if I want to have more information? I want to drill down and have, let's say, more information on Americas, which seems to perform pretty well compared to last year, okay? Around 50% better than last year for these particular filters around the dates. So here what I'm going to do is just right-click and drill through to another page of my report. So I have more information on this particular continent, which is in this particular context, Americas. So as I click on the button, I can drill through to another page, which gives me even more information, more detailed statistics on Americas. So here I have daily data, sales data. I can slice the data by countries, and I can even see the cities where the sales took place, right? So as you can see here, I managed to set up some interactions between two pages, and introduce some navigation concepts in my Power BI report. It's really, really powerful and convenient for your users. I can tell you I've done a big project for LVMH, a luxury company in France. I'm sure many of you know it. Louis Vuitton, for example. They have many, many brands. So we built finance KPIs for treasurers, and we set up Power BI reports like this. We have set up reports in funnel. So we have the very first pages are overview of the data at not such a detailed grade. So they just have an overview of the business. And if the top management or if the consumers of the report want to have a better understanding of the data, if they want to go deeper in the data, we've set up this kind of landing pages, drill-through pages, so that they can extract even more information and have more precise insights, right? So to do so, I've just used over here the drill-through pane, where I've just set some fields coming from my data model. So here I've put the continent, and because I am using the same axis over here on this very first page, I can drill through between the page. Power BI automatically creates the link between the first page and the drill through page, which has the same fields, right? So again, this is not a tutorial, it's just a showcase. If you want to have more information on drill through, you just have to type in drill through Power BI in YouTube, and you will have probably hundreds of videos showing you how you can set up these things, right? The next thing, which you already saw, so I'm not gonna go too deep on this, is the natural language. So as an author, because I'm in Power BI Desktop, I have prepared some questions on the data. So here you can see the average sales per order. You can see the total revenue by date in Europe. You can do even some segmentation queries, such as top and bottom. This is gonna be really useful because my users, when they're gonna connect to the report, they will be able to see the questions. And if they are curious, and if they can understand your questions, they will be able to ask their own questions on the data model, right? And this is where it starts to be really interesting, because when you're gonna share your report, the report you are sharing is probably great, it's awesome, but it's never gonna cover 100% of your business requirements. Your users, they will always want to have more. What if I want to see this particular data versus last year? You haven't done it in the report. Well, you can ask the question, because what you are sharing is a report, but also the underlying data model, which any users who have access to the report can consume and ask questions on it, right? So here I have pre-built a series of questions that my users can interact with, so they can see the logic of the Power BI engine, and so they can ask their own question. I will show you this later on when I will publish this to the service and share this to another user. So natural language. Another feature which is really interesting is the bookmarks. Who has never used or never heard about bookmarks? Okay, some of you. So bookmarks, if I had to summarize this feature in a few words, it's PowerPoint slides, dynamic PowerPoint slides within Power BI. So on the view pane, you can turn on the bookmarks pane. And here, you're gonna have the ability to snapshot some views of your reports just by clicking on Add. So let's say here, I'm gonna click on Asia, and food. And I'm just going to snapshot this particular view of the report. As here. Food. So this is going to be the name of my bookmark. Let's make a focus on Asia. Asia focus. So as you can see here, I am preparing the set of views that I want my users to see on the data. Okay. So once I've prepared my bookmarks, I can switch to the view, to the bookmarks view. And at the bottom, it's kind of a PowerPoint experience. I have the different bookmarks which I've prepared, and I can just use this button over here, next, to keep going and analyze my data. So once you deploy this to the service, your users are going to be able to consume these particular views of the report. And it's going to be really time-saving for them if they don't want to know how to drill down, drill through, right-click, and all that stuff. You can pre-build the analysis for them, replicate the different features we saw together, and then expose this to the business users. One cool thing which is going to be released in a few days is the fact that your users, so those who are going to consume your Power BI report in the service, they're going to be able to create their own bookmarks. So they're going to be able to create their own views on the bookmarks and save it, which is awesome, right? The same features over here, but in the service, and this is called personal bookmarks.
And
yes.
any limitations on this bookmark? Because we able at 8 or 16 only can support it.
Okay, so the question is, are there limitations around these particular features, the bookmarks features? Are you talking about the number of bookmarks or anything else? Yeah. Not that I know. I've already created some reports with 30 or 40 bookmarks. At some point, it starts to be a bit hard to maintain, right? You can also create some group of bookmarks, so it's easier for you to keep track and adjust your bookmarks. But I don't know if someone from Microsoft can answer. I'm not sure there is a limitation, right?
I don't think so.
No, there isn't. Yeah. Yeah, another question?
So the bookmark which we create, any users, multi users have created in, I'm talking about the service.
Yes.
On cloud, users have created their bookmarks. So are the bookmarks local to those users or everybody will be able to see them?
Yeah, so the question is how my users in the service can use these bookmarks. Is it going to be all my users seeing these bookmarks? So the answer is yes. When you deploy this Power BI report to the service, your users will be able to interact with the report, the classic view of the report, but also the bookmarks view of the report, which they can turn on, right? And as I said, in a few days, they're going to be able to create their own bookmarks. This is called personal bookmarks. This has been published in the official Power BI public roadmap. So, but I guess your question behind is, okay, but what if I save this particular bookmark, but my user does not have access to alcohol or to Europe? Okay, then because the security is at the data model level, don't worry, they will only see their perimeter. Okay. Security applies, but they will see this particular set of bookmarks within the service. Okay. I'm just going to keep going because I still have a few things to show.
We will have a Q&A session after this session, so
yeah.
we'll take all the questions.
Okay. So the bookmarks. One last thing I wanted to show you in terms of visualization is the fact that you can customize your tooltips. So who doesn't know what are tooltips? When I refer to tooltips, who doesn't know what it is? Tooltips in Power BI. Okay, some of you. So if I go to this particular chart, in the setting of this chart, there is a section called tooltips. The tooltips are some elements which are going to be displayed when the creator or the users put their mouse on the particular visual. So here I don't have any tooltip set up, by default, it's just going to display the axis and the values that I've put in my visualization, so the continent and the revenue. So this is the tooltip, right? I can add some elements. So let's say I want to see the number of orders for this particular chart. And now, as you can see, this is displayed in the tooltip. So this is the regular classic experience regarding tooltips. It has been here for a long time, but what has been released, I would say probably 5 or 6 months ago, is the ability to create your own tooltips. So you're gonna create some pages, which are gonna embed over here. So let me show you that. So here, for this particular chart, instead of using the classic regular tooltips experience, I've just embedded a chart for my tooltip, a page actually. So here, when I put the mouse on food, for example, I can see that there is the context around food, and I've just displayed the daily data. Okay, I could have displayed what I want, right? Why? Because the underlying thing between around this is a page, which I called tooltip, but you could name it as you want. As you can see, I have hidden this page, so it's not displayed to my users when I publish this report to the service. And I'm just going to use this particular page, which I've turned on as a tooltip over here, to display the data in a nice and elegant way in my reports, right? So this is a bit the same technique as the drill through filter. I'm just preparing a landing page. The filter is gonna automatically propagate with the fields I have predefined. And the user experience is really good, right? So this is called page report tooltips. I really encourage you to have a look at this. If we just take a step backward and try to think about what I've just shown you, the bookmarks, the Q&A, the drill through, all that stuff. We talk about data storytelling, okay? I did a session on data storytelling at the Business Application Summit in Seattle a few months ago. It was recorded. So if you want to see these kind of things in actions with more details, you can go to the Power BI YouTube channel and you will have some better details on these particular features. If you think about it, I think Power BI has shifted from a reporting tool to an app development tool, right? Because you have some navigation, you really engage the user, you create some user experience, you need to use user experience concepts, and you need to be kind of an app developer, right? You're not just creating some charts and reporting, but you're creating a genuine application, right? With navigation and stuff. So keep these things in mind. Application. Okay, so the last part of the demo, I have 5 minutes. So yeah, I have the Power BI family. I may have questions around the licensing, which I haven't covered yet, but I will answer maybe these at the end of the session. So I've talked about application as a way you can author Power BI content, right? This word, application, you're gonna also find it as the way you're gonna consume the content. So what I'm gonna cover now is what we call Power BI service applications, Power BI apps. You may have heard about it. This is one way to share your reports in Power BI. There are many, many different ways you can do it. I'm not gonna show you all of them. I'm going to focus on this one because I think this is the most interesting one and the most important one if you want to be able to scale and distribute your content to a large audience. Okay? So how does it work? Before I'm just showing you this, if I go back to this slide. So here we are really talking about this and this, okay? We deploy to the service and we want to distribute the content to the audience. So as you may know, there are two types of workspaces in Power BI service, the personal workspace and a NAP workspace. A NAP workspace is basically a workspace where several Power BI Pro users can collaborate, create some reports and dashboards and data sets and even data flows now. So they need to have a Power BI Pro license. They need to have DAX and visualization skills. Well, they need to master the Iceberg, right? So they're gonna collaborate within the NAP workspace. And once they have packaged the content with, let's say, 3 reports, 1 dashboard, or even more, it could be whatever you want, they're just gonna publish their work through an app. So again, we have this concept of app to business users. So they're gonna push this to business users. These business users, they need to have either a Power BI Pro license if they want to be able to consume the content, or if the Power BI app workspace is backed by a premium capacity, you may have heard of Power BI Premium, then the users, the end users, won't need to have a Power BI Pro license. Okay, so this is the general schema. You deploy some reports in an app workspace as a Power BI Pro user, and then you distribute the content to users who are part of your organization or not. Okay? Again, if there are questions around licensing, Premium, Pro, and stuff, I'm more than happy to answer these at the end of the session. But this is the general schema, right? So let me show you that. This will be the last demo. So here, I have logged in with Tristan account, Tristan is a Power BI Pro user. He knows all the different components of the Iceberg. So he has created this particular report. He's gonna publish this to the Power BI service. Okay. So it's just loading the page. So again, as I said, Tristan can either publish this particular content to his own workspace or to a NAP workspace. So here I should have, Dubai workspace I've created over here. So here I'm just pushing one report and the associated data set to the cloud, to Power BI service, into a NAP workspace. This Power BI app workspace could have many, many different users who are power users, who are also contributing and publishing some content into this particular workspace. In this case, the workspace I think is just alone, just have one report. So as you can see over here, I'm in the service, so you can connect using the following app.powerbi.com. As you can see, Power BI is part of the Office 365 ecosystem. So here I've logged in with Tristan's account, right? So you can see the report and the data set associated to this particular report. I could build as many reports as I want on top of this particular data set. So again, here, let's assume that Dubai has many Power BI Pro users who want to collaborate and let's say on a given business field. Now, they want to send this particular report to business users, to consumers. Well, if it's not clear for you, Power BI really makes the distinction between those who are going to create and those who are going to consume, right? These are different groups of people. There are many, many people in your organization. They're never going to create some reports, right? They're not going to do DAX. They're not going to do visualization. They just want to have their figures, their tables, their views, right? So these typically, this type of people, they won't be in this particular workspace. They're just going to be the recipients of the Power BI apps. So to do so, I'm just going to go over here to this particular workspace, and I'm going to publish the content of the workspace as an app. Okay. So again, this app could have many reports, many data sets coming from different Power BI Pro users collaborating. In this particular scenario, this workspace only has one report. So I'm just gonna put a quick summary. I can change the color of my app. Let's choose yellow for the sun of Dubai and the color of Power BI as well. So I can define an app landing page. So here I'm just gonna say, okay, you're gonna land to the only artifact of this particular app, so the DataVis report. And here, this is where I can give access to my users, to my business users who are gonna consume the content of my report. I can even push the app automatically, so they don't have to do anything. They just need to log into the service with their Power BI account, and they will have the app automatically available for them. So here I'm just gonna publish my app, and I'm gonna make it available to Jeff, who is a colleague. He's a Power BI Pro user, he's part of the same company as me. I'm just pushing the app. Okay. Now let's switch. Here, let's assume I'm Jeff, okay? I'm connected with my Power BI account, and as you can see, in the app section, I can access my Dubai apps, which has been sent by Tristan. And I can consume the content of the app, which again, here is only just one report. In read-only mode, okay? Jeff cannot edit the report over here. As you can see, it's grayed out. But still, Jeff can interact with the report, use all the storytelling features that we saw earlier, ask questions in natural language. To answer the question of the gentleman a few minutes ago, Jeff can view the report as the bookmarks view. And again, in a few days, Jeff would be able to create his own personal bookmarks as well to save some particular snapshots of the app. Okay? So this is the general schema. We have Power BI Desktop. We deploy some things into app workspaces, and we push the content of the workspace through an app, which we can distribute to as many people as we want. Okay? So, to conclude, I know you are really hungry, me too. You may be a bit tired as well, you've seen a lot of things this morning. If we try just to summarize what we saw today, so I really wanted to make sure you see all the steps of Power BI in action, because the key message of this session is really to know that Power BI is not just about visualization. It's really, when I present Power BI, I say it's a data analysis and visualization tool which allows you to collaborate. Okay, this gives the genuine picture of Power BI, I would say. So two powerful engines: the mashup engine in Power Query, Vertipack. So this is where you load the data into the data model, and you do some DAX and stuff. It truly has data visualization and storytelling capabilities, fast deployment, interaction and integration with the Microsoft 365, Azure, and the Power Platform. You may have heard of Power Apps, Flow. You will have a detailed session on these later on. So this is really a key differentiator of Power BI, I think. It integrates pretty well with other products. I haven't time I could not show you the interaction, for example, with Teams or SharePoint, but just go and check this out. This is really, really crazy. It's just a few clicks. You just need to click some buttons, and then you're gonna embed the content of Power BI in other Office 365 applications. And then the last point, I think you're the proof, a strong and growing Power community. This is really important. Navin, when you started Power BI a few years ago, you said that it was a bit hard to find some content because Power BI was still very young. I think now it's not the case anymore. If you're curious, if you know how to Google and to YouTube, you have the information, you have it. You have user groups. Power BI team has its own YouTube channel. They are broadcasting weekly webinars on any topics related to the Power Platform. So just go and check this out. Ask questions. There are forums. There is the data stories gallery. There are all these things which are free available to you so you can learn and improve in Power BI. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the session and probably see you later.